attitude.
Good morning and welcome to Senator John Lowe, legislative candidate from District 37. Thank you, Senator, for joining us for our virtual legislative candidate meetings. My name is Gina Ragland, and with us today are lead AARP advocacy volunteers Susan DeCamp, Bob Lassen, Danny DeLong, and Alan Regenborn. Alan is also a constituent of yours, Senator Lowe. Emily Wick is also joining us from the AARP state office. Senator Lowe, appreciate your taking the time to meet and discuss issues of importance to the 50-plus voter and their families in Nebraska. Again, as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared with AARP members across your district prior to the election. Senator, with that, if we want to start off by giving us a little background about yourself and your campaign, we aim for 5 minutes or less, that would be great. And once we've completed your opening, we'll move into the questions. So go ahead, Senator.
My name is John Lowe. I've always lived in Kearney. My father always lived in Kearney, and so did my grandfather. So we were longtime Kearney residents. I'm a businessman from Kearney. Just really enjoy working with people and helping people out in different areas. I got into politics because I saw the way that our country was going at the time, and I had concerns for my children and my grandchildren eventually. So it's not a personal deal, it's for our future. I've enjoyed my time in Lincoln. I've enjoyed working with all the other senators. Even Senator Chambers and I could agree to disagree several times. I've tried to work well through these last 3.5, 4 years that I've been down there. I've tried to put through some good legislation, and I've tried to stop what I consider bad legislation. And I think that's the big key, is not letting legislation through that could harm our citizens of the state of Nebraska. This last year, I prioritized a year ago LB 153, which was Senator Brewer's military retirement pay. And because I thought that was very important to attempt to keep our veterans here in the state of Nebraska by giving half of their retirement pay tax-free to them. And I believe we need to continue to work on that to make that 100%, so that we can compete with the other states around us. And these men and women have volunteered their lives to protect us. So it's something we owe them. This last year, my LB 783 was to help the ambulatory surgery centers so that they could stay open, have a patient 23 hours and 59 minutes in their facilities. I thought that was very important, because you go to a surgery center because hospitals pretty much have to accept everybody coming in, and hospitals have viruses and other things continually going on there. Well, to get an operation in a surgery center, you have to be healthy. You have to go take tests before you get in, so that it's a very sterile environment. And I thought that is very important to, especially our aging population, so that they can continually have those operations that they need without the risk of gaining a virus or something like that. And I will continue to fight for deregulation of certain things that make living in Nebraska better.
Great. Thank you, Senator Lowe, for that opening. We'll now move into the questions. And again, we provided you with a set of 3 questions pertaining to the 50-plus voters in Nebraska. We've again allotted 5 minutes for those questions. Our first question today comes from Alan Regenborn. And again, it centers around helping people stay in their homes and communities. So Alan, go ahead.
Senator Lowe, a living community is one that is safe and secure, has housing that is affordable, no more than 30% of the income is spent on housing, transportation options that allow individuals to travel by multiple means, and a supportive community features and services for people of all ages, allowing people to remain in their community as they age. What steps will you take to ensure that all Americans have access to a livable community?
Well, this year we worked trying to reduce our property taxes, trying to work through that way, because a large part of our expenses, it seems like anymore, are property taxes. And so we tried to be able to fund that through the state, through other taxes that were coming in, such as corporate taxes and business taxes that are being paid in. The state is being very fiscally responsible with our money that we are receiving from the taxpayers. And so that was very important. We weren't able to get 1106 passed, which would have given great property tax relief. We were able to get 1107 passed, which will help and which will build in the future up to 14–15% of your taxes, property taxes. Our family has been in the past involved with mobile home housing, with affordable housing in that way. In my mind, affordable housing was not cheap housing, but good housing for people. And that's what we need to concentrate on. Not all, I look at the housing that's being built now, and you can't buy a house for under $200,000 that's worth anything. And I think we need to keep on working, trying to make it affordable for these people. I'm on the Urban Affairs Committee, and every year we have 15 or 20 bills that come in that want to increase the regulation on building a house, which costs at least $2,000 to $20,000 more for a house just to have that house built. And our houses are just as safe without this regulation. It's more nonsense that people are trying to put in to benefit themselves at the cost of the people buying the houses. And we need to just keep insuring ourselves and looking to find better ways to make our housing affordable. My brother, who walked in as this interview started and started asking me questions right away, he and I have been in rental housing for a long time, and a lot of our rentals are for the low income people. They're not government benefit housing, but our rents are affordable for many of these people. And I think we need to look at it that way. When COVID hit, we forgave a lot of the rents at that time to these people, because it was tough for these people to get out and make a living. And so we have to look at the people. I don't want to make it so the government has to step in. We, the people, need to do this, and we need to do it that way.
Great. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Ellen, for that question.
All right. Now moving on into our second question, Susan DeCamp will ask this, and this pertains to health, caregiving, and home and community-based care. So go ahead, Susan.
Good morning, Senator Lowe.
Morning, Susan.
Caregivers help older persons live independently by providing assistance with things such as bathing, dressing, and performing medical and nursing tasks, such as administering medication. Caregivers often provide these services with little or no training, as well as little or no pay. So with that in mind, my question is a two-part question. First, would you support helping caregivers with paid leave, respite services, telehealth, and access to education and training? And secondly, how would you protect or expand paid services and supports, as well as financial security that allows more seniors to live independently in their own homes?
One of the good things that has come out of COVID is telehealth. It's advanced so far, and we're able to use telehealth more than we ever have before. And technology is advancing leaps and bounds right now at this time. I think we need to seriously look at using telehealth, using technology to assist us, so that one caregiver may not have to be in the house all the time, but able to work remotely. Both my mother and father-in-law lived in their house until their death. And they had caregivers around the clock for 3 years prior to that, and also family. And that's very important that family take a part of this because they are the best caregivers to our elderly. And the caregivers that come in to help the families, it's important that we use those people properly, and so that they have the ability to do what they need to do at the time that they need to do it, but maybe not be there all the time. I really enjoyed the time spending with my mother and father-in-law while they were there. My mother herself doesn't need a caregiver yet, but we'd like to keep her in her home as long as possible. And caregivers, they're important people in our lives. I don't know if I've answered your question properly with that, but we right now, a lot of the companies that hire these caregivers are struggling to find good quality people. And the people that are being put in these places may not be the best that are there, but we're struggling. We need to make it so that it's an attractive business, and the people that are there that are going to do well love this, just like a nurse. Just like doctors, they're there for the people, not for the paycheck, not for the retirement. They're there to help people and maybe supplement their income. I don't know if I want to pass legislation right now to supplement their income, but we need to continually look to find a better way to do things. And I'm willing to work with other senators to find that way.
Okay, just if I might, just a little bit further on the financial security portion and the supports and services. If you could just maybe touch a little bit upon things such as homestead exemption or the SNAP program or the ADRCs.
For years, I thought we needed to house many more of these programs under one roof so that when somebody comes in, they could be helped by one entity. Instead of going from place to place to place, and confusion of what is being helped and what's not being helped. I think there needs to be one place that a person can come in, and instead of getting overlaps or underserved, that they would find the best answer for that person at that time, because it's not a one-size-fits-all deal.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Our last question then comes from Bob Lassen, and it will address, and you've kind of talked a little bit about this with some of the incentivizing of workers, but under nursing facility quality. So go ahead, Bob.
Very good. Thank you for coming today. An estimated 6,600 Nebraskans reside in one of Nebraska's 211 nursing homes. By 2040, the University of Nebraska, Omaha projects that number will more than double to almost 14,000 people. Due to a variety of factors over the past years, Nebraska has seen an increase in nursing facilities having to close and the residents having to be relocated elsewhere, and that's not always a good thing logistically. How would you ensure that Nebraska residents receive quality nursing home care, including ensuring an adequate nursing workforce, education, training, and proper reimbursement?
Well, we need more nurses, obviously. I'm sponsoring an LR, which is going to be heard next week. I believe it's next week, down at the state capitol, to bring more incentives for the UNMC group to make a larger presence on the UNK campus, where we have a nursing school here. We need to make it so that it's well, once a nurse or once a student goes to UNMC in Omaha, they rarely come back out to Western Nebraska. So by doing it at UNK here in Kearney, and by doing it in Scottsbluff or across western Nebraska, those students are more apt to return home, because once they go to Omaha, they find friends, they find a livable mate, and they stay down there or they move to another state. So we need to find a way for them to stay in middle Nebraska, western Nebraska, closer to their homes where they originally intended on being. So I hope that goes through later this year.
Do you know the number, excuse me, do you know the number of the LR?
I can look it up really quickly. I don't remember it off the top of my head. Maybe I can look it up really quickly.
Okay, that's all right.
I'll look it up as I answer the question. Maybe that'll help.
Okay, and we can look it up as well. I just thought you might know. Thank you.
Yeah. But you know, my brother, my youngest brother right now is in a nursing facility, and so you know, we looked long and hard for the best place to put him at this time, and we may be moving him because he may need other things at this time. The LR is 392.
Thank you.
And I was trying to find the date where it is being, hearing is September 28th.
Thank you.
So, you know, the nursing facilities are closing across the state because they're not financially able to stay open. You know, they're all run for profit for the most part. And whether it's because they just don't have enough people in them, or the Medicaid is not, or Medicare is not being enough for them to live on. So we need to look at those aspects on how we can still keep our elderly closer to home. You know, my brother may be moving to another town, even though we have great facilities here in Kearney. But we need to try to keep them close to home, where they're close to families, and also receive good care. So we'll continue to look at that and see what happens in the legislature.
Thank you, Senator Lowe. And in follow up to that, and I think you've touched on that too, the receiverships, there's been over 33 in the last few years that have happened. And that's one thing we always see, that struggling when you talk about having to relocate to another town or location, you know, oftentimes that can be more detrimental to someone than anything. So we do appreciate, and I know you've been supportive of a lot of those initiatives in the legislature thus far. So we do appreciate that very much.
I think another part, just to follow up on that real quickly, for these more rural facilities, they really support the economies, you know, in that facility also. And I think that when we look at things like reimbursement rates and things like that, one of the key things that we should be looking at is the economic impact, you know, and that part of Nebraska. And I wonder, what do you think on that? Is that a good reasoning, good line of reasoning to work with, to kind of pursue?
Yeah. Anytime you turn things over to the government for more reimbursement, I really dread, because government has a bad time of following up on their commitments. And so we need to look at it maybe as a community. The community needs to get more involved. And I know the communities are doing this just to keep those people employed. But, you know, it's got to be profitable for the company that owns the nursing home in order for it to be able to stay there. Because a lot of them are bottom line companies. And if it's not profitable for them to be there, they'll pull up stakes and condense someplace else. So we need to look at ways where we can keep them open. You know, a lot of towns support the local restaurant, because the town may be only 500 people or 400 people, and it's really not able to. But the town creates functions and things like that in and around that restaurant, because the owner can't really afford to keep it open. So maybe we need to do things, think outside the box, to to make these facilities livable and stretch out the time that maybe that they could stay open for 10 years, 15 years longer for these people that are there before the company decides to pull the plug.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Senator. As we come to the end of our meeting, I'd like to offer you the final minutes to offer any closing thoughts, comments, or messages you want to send to your constituents. So go ahead and take the floor.
Well, thank you very much for this opportunity to be interviewed by everybody and to talk to the members of AARP out there that will be receiving this. It's a constant fight here in Nebraska to keep things healthy, but thank God we do live in Nebraska. Nebraska is a great place to live. Nebraska, as you can see by most of us are wearing red today. We're going to be back playing sports in Nebraska, and you know that news made everybody feel better yesterday. We need to do that all the time and compliment people. I was just out in western Nebraska 2 days ago, and you know, the air quality is clean out there, and not like, well, we have California fire smoke today, but thank goodness we don't live in other cities where we have to worry about law enforcement, where we have to worry about our air quality or water quality and things like that. We do live in a good state, and we do worship our law enforcement, and we just worship the land that we grow things on. You know, we are our best people for knowing what can happen to our land, because we want to pass it on to our children and grandchildren, and that's very important. And I just appreciate this time to be interviewed, and I've enjoyed sitting in the legislature and helping people.
Great, Senator. Before we close, I just have to ask you, were you on the mule tour?
I did ride a mule. Yes, I did. And I'm still recovering. It's beautiful country out there.
It absolutely is, and this is the greatest time of year to be out there. So
Yes.
thank you again for taking the time to visit with us, Senator Lowe. We wish you the best with your campaign. We hope to work with you in the future. And again, thank you for meeting with AARP today.
All
Have a
right.
great day.
Thank you, Gene.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
See you.